palace was built between 1627 to 1629 by Diego de Miranda. The Miranda family was one of the great lineages of the Principality of Asturias. Teachers Juan de Navera and Gonzalo Güemes Brancamonte seem to have participated in its realization. Typologically, the palace is the work of the first Baroque Asturian classically inspired. It has a very sober and unadorned facade.
Impost line delimits its 3 floors and 2 bands of weir walls, separate its central body from the tower and the southern wing that was built by the Iridia family. At the end of the 18th century, the Iridia family reformed the place and its courtyard and provided with its current southern facade, demoling the tower on that side, and a garden, to which said facade open. The project for this work was carried out by the Asturian architect Manuel Reguera González.
It is built in an adornment and academic Baroque style. The ground floor houses the entrance door, with a lowered arch. In the first floor, the main balcony opens. The area coat of the arms shows Hercules fighting with an animal lion and figured head, with the inscription from the year 1774. The 7 balconies that open into the main courtyard have lowered arches.
The University of Oviedo was inaugurated the 21st of September of 1608, and it was founded by Fernando Valdés Salas. Initially, the 4 studies that could be taught were arts, canons, law, and theology. The university at this time had over 100 students. The original traces of the construction were designed by Rodrigo Gil de Ontañón, who had already worked on the University of Salamanca and Alcalá de Henares. It is one of the centers of the Classicism architecture of the 16th century. It has 2 facades made of stone ashlars and a few openings.
It is a public university and it is the only one located in Oviedo. It has 19,300 students more or less, and you can study a degree of physics and chemistry, history and geography, maths, economic and more subjects. Its initial style was characterized by austerity and little ornamental decoration on the exterior. The building has a square floor plan and interior atrium, preceded by the statue of Fernando, the founder of the institution.
The relationship between this university and Padre Feijóo is that Feijóo won by opposition a chair of theology at the University of Oviedo. He lived here from 1709 until the end of his days. He devoted to study, teaching, composition, and defense of these works. In 1934, the university suffered a terrible damage. Nowadays, we don't have yet attribution of what happened, but there are some theories that say that there was a fire that was caused by the revolutionaries who set fire to the classrooms with dynamite.
The director of the university states that only the exterior walls were left standing. The playground was badly damaged, but the greatest destruction was to the funds. About 100 books that were in the library were lost in the fire. On the 20th century, the building was reconstructed following this style, and new campuses were created to house the new students. So, at the beginning of its time, it was located on the San Francisco Street, and now it had 7 campuses distributed in Oviedo, Mieres, and Gijón.
The monastery of San Vicente was built on the same site in 716, but over the years it has been rebuilt on numerous occasions. Today nothing remains of the original monastery. In the 18th century, the monastery was made up of 3 buildings. The mansion of the Arch of San Vicente in the street with the same name. This mansion is currently the Faculty of Psychology of the University of Oviedo. The old Basilica of San Vicente, later replaced by the monastery itself, currently occupied by the Archaeological Museum of Asturias, and finally the Church of San Vicente, which currently still belongs to the church, to the parish of Santa María la Real de la Corte.
In the middle of the courtyard of the Faculty of Psychology, as you can see, there's a statue of Father Feijóo. A curiosity of this statue is that it positioned so it faces the facade with the window of the cell where he resided from 1709 until his death. Feijóo was professor of theology from 1710 to 1739 at the University of Oviedo. Then, at the monastery of San Vicente, he wrote two of his main works, Teatro Crítico Universal, that mainly talks about the defense of women and the equality of both sexes, and Cartas Eruditas y Curiosas, a work which, as the title indicates, encourages the reader to make curious encounters in a modern and conversational manner. For this, and to commemorate the inauguration of the cathedral that bears his name, this statue was inaugurated in 1954.
Near, we find the church's cloister. It's a sober building, but inside has beautiful arches with a flowery Gothic style. Nowadays, this cloister works as the museum of the Cathedral of Oviedo, and the last building, the House of Dian Payarinos. This building is nowadays a place where you can study music to play as professional. This place is dedicated to Eduardo Martínez Torner, a very important Spanish composer.
Last of all, near this square we find the facade of the Holy Chamber of the Cathedral of Oviedo, which was destroyed in the Revolution of October 1934. It was rebuilt with the same bricks it was created before. Inside, a very famous relic is stored, La Cruz de la Victoria.
La Casa de la Rúa has its origins as a defensive tower more than 600 years ago. It's the oldest civil building in the city, and the only one that survives the devastating fire that destroyed the city in 1521. Also, it's one of the few examples of residential architecture that are preserved in Asturias from the Middle Age.
Nowadays, Casa de Rúa is used for celebration of events, and the upper part is used for people to live there. This has been possible thanks to the reform that has been carried out throughout the years. It is also used as a private leisure and hospitality center. Throughout the years, people have been reforming and making changes in the building, such as the window of the cross, that is one of its most characteristic elements, and the decorative Renaissance walls on the cornice. Some years later, they incorporated a body attached to the three-story facade. Then some parts of the house were rebuilt, adding an interior garden.
The entrance staircase, the central patio with columns, and the ashlar fireplaces in the main rooms are incorporated. The last reforms begin in 2008 and involves a comprehensive rehabilitation of the building. A team of specialists in archaeology, petrology, and art history from the University of Oviedo has collaborated on it, with the aim of achieving maximum historical and artistic rigor.